Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Kay Georgiou and Judy Chin, the hair and makeup team behind Steven Spielberg's new film, West Side Story. Congratulations on the film. It's incredible. And I'm so excited to talk to you. I know you've both worked with Steven previously and on different projects. What were your early conversations with him like about this one and how you wanted to approach the hair and the makeup, I guess? And Kay, you could go first, and then Judy, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Okay, well, the first meetings that we had with Steven were largely about when the film was set, which was 1957. He wanted it to be as realistic and true to the period as possible. I wanted it to look free and easy and natural and believable. So, that was like the first meeting that we had with him, and we took it from there. He's very descriptive about what he wants. He's very easy to work with in that way. He gives you clear direction about, as he would, about where you're going and what he would like to see.
Judy, is that a unique experience, would you say, or for you from a filmmaker, or is it like, that's kind of like how it goes, I guess?
Everyone's feeling about their characters, of course, is different. Steven really wanted all of the characters to seem really real and relatable. And I love that idea. I really tried to have everyone look just very natural and real and believable. There's some elements of our characters looking a bit stylized, but at the same time, it's all very believable and gritty and real and raw. And, and he felt that way as well. So I thought that was really, we were all working towards the same goal.
So a big difference in this film, obviously, compared to the 1960 version of West Side Story, is that you have not just the cast is obviously a lot different, a lot more. So one of the things I want to talk about the ethnicity of like the cast obviously as well, but I like that you have actual young, like Maria in this is obviously Rachel Zegler, who's a teenager when she's playing the role for Maria, is much different from Natalie Wood playing it. I guess when you start with a young girl like that, I guess, how does your approach work? I would imagine you don't need to do a lot, like obviously like for the original version, they had to do a lot of different tricks, make Natalie Wood look perhaps a lot younger, and obviously certainly not the right ethnicity. But for you guys, I guess, how did it work with like Rachel and like kind of like how did you approach her look for this?
Well, for me, she showed up. She was this beautiful young girl who had this beautiful head of gorgeous raven hair. And we just went with that and used it, because if it's not broke, why would you try and fix it? She looks, as far as her hair goes, she looks natural, she looks beautiful. And we just went with what God gave her, or her parents gave her, whatever way you want to look at it. And again, that was something that Steven wanted for her. He wanted her to look, she's supposed to have just landed in New York City. I think there's even a scene in the film where she says, I'm dancing for the first time in New York City. So he wanted, that innocence that comes with it. He didn't want her to have like a style of the period, which had been done and clipped and cut by a hairdresser or something like that. He just, she's done the best she can with herself, and it's, she's a beauty. So it works.
And Judy, how about you for her makeup? I guess it's just it obviously doesn't seem like there's a lot, but maybe that's the trick. And there is a lot. I don't know how, that's your magic. How does it work?
That's absolutely the trick. Like Kay said, she showed up and she was just stunning and sweet, and everything's coming from the inside, for Rachel. It's like she just exudes this sweet and, her work ethic and, this sense of innocence and beauty. For me, regarding her skin, I just kept it as natural as possible. But I feel like, the film, while, I feel like I said, it's really real feeling and relatable. There's elements to the film throughout every aesthetic in the film that's heightened and stylized, and but it kind of works. Those moments where Ansel sings Maria and the lights come on, and but you go with it, so little things like that I wanted to incorporate into her makeup, like the color in her cheeks is just a little enhanced, just a little, pushed it just beyond the realm of natural, but like still feeling real. And everything that I did for her beauty wise was just sort of intrinsic and very like light layers and veils of color, and just enhancing all the little tiny bits of, in little tiny bits, her very own natural beauty.
Yeah, it's maybe it's like a romanticism maybe in the film, right? Like I feel like that's what the heightening is, right? I think across the board. Yeah. And
That's describe
yeah.
it.
So I mentioned obviously the casting, obviously, and big difference, and like that's great. You have a lot of Puerto Rican and Latino actors playing these roles that were, obviously written to be Puerto Rican characters, and that's a big difference from the original. And for you guys, I guess, like, how did you approach that, and like how much research did you have to do to make sure that those characters looked authentic to the time? Judy, what was your starting point, I guess, on that front?
Well, I wasn't able to find a lot, but I did find some really great images of, Puerto Rican gangs, and white gangs, I forget the name of that photographer, Kate, that we.
Yeah, on the beach.
Those are brilliant.
They are brilliant, and I cannot remember his name either, but he was a famous photographer of the time.
Really cool images. And we, that just captured the vibe so perfectly. So we drew a lot from that. And, regarding the ethnicity, it's just really, seeing truly and embracing all the richness and gorgeous, skin tones, and just really working with that, and, not altering that at all. And just.
Yeah. Hey, how about you? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to jump in.
No, please do.
One of the things that we obviously, Judy and I had these fantastic photographs, and there was this one photographer on the beach, and he was Riff. Do you remember the character? I'm desperately blanking on the name of the photographer. I'm so sorry. But one of the things that became really apparent to me in looking at the photographs of the period is the females of today, whether they're Puerto Rican or whether they're from New York or whoever they do not have the same hair today that they had in 1957 or in the 50s. Everyone's hair is much longer. It's, people were having perms back then. It was a whole different way about styling the hair. And the way that was the easiest for me to handle that was for the ensemble and a lot of the extras and quite a lot of the female cast. I had to wig them all, because it wasn't to try and get someone's, straight waist length hair into a 50s style, and then for them to dance for 12 hours a day in the heat in New York. It just, first of all, it wouldn't look right to begin with, and secondly, it wouldn't last. And the last thing they want in those big dance numbers is a team of hair and makeup people running in, which you have to do, but you want the time that you're in there for it to be as minimal as possible, so that they can get on and shoot again, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Judy, how about you? I mean, you mentioned like these music, like I know for like America, for instance, I remember that was like shot maybe on the hottest day of the year in 2019 or whatever it was. I think it was like 100 degrees. How does that, how do you even how do you handle the makeup in that situation? Or like, do you just have to like, had you anticipated something like that could happen? Yeah. Like, where do you start?
We had tissue strapped to every limb.
Absolutely. My team and I had our actors' makeup bags, at least 2, if not 3 on them. And attached to those bags were bags for, we call them sweat rags. It sounds awful, but that's basically, it's pre-cut paper towels that we would dab, and then a trash bag on the other side. In our other holster was sunscreen, and it was constant. We got yelled at a lot, and I don't blame them, because it was a lot to do. We had a lot of dancing to do, and it was boiling hot. But every take, we would just sneak in there when we could, like every take, and blot fix, re-lipstick, and re-sunscreen. That was the routine. And it was just like, okay, cut, go.
Incredible. I mean, like, I guess, did you anticipate that would, I mean, I assume for a musical, it's got to be a lot different than like, maybe it's not, I don't know, but for a musical, it's a lot different than, you know, a non-musical production, because obviously there's so much physicality and movement and kind of like
Yes.
I'm sure there's doing, yeah, right. I mean, like, it's got to be an added stress to do a musical.
Two people sitting in a room drinking a cup of tea is a lot less maintenance than, you know, what we were dealing with on West Side Story. You know, as you say, during America, it was like, didn't we get shut down, Judy? It was like the hottest day of the year.
Yeah, it was a day where we had boiled all day long. We dragged ourselves home only to find a note saying, there's no shooting tomorrow. Don't come to work. It's too hot. And we were like, yay. So yeah, we had a snow day.
It was just
in summer.
Yeah, we had a Sunday, not a snow day. And
yeah,
Sunday. Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah,
I was so worried about all of our actors, you know, boiling and getting burnt in the sun. However, we tried to protect them. So I asked production to set up these massive tents, and we had them set up on the set so that they had, because it was just blazing sun. There was no place to hide. So they set up these tents, which was great. And I wanted all the actors to just get a little relief from the sun in between takes. But would they ever go in there? No.
They danced in between their takes. They were young and they were energetic. So, you know, you spend all this time, and Judy will tell you this is the truth. You know, when you're working with dancers, they're so unique. You know, you spend their time putting their hair up, putting wig on them, getting them to look perfect. They have makeup, you know, this beautiful makeup. They all look fantastic. And then even before they go on set, they'll be doing a handstand, or they'll be doing the splits, or they'll be warming up, you know, so that they can get their bodies moving and everything. So, you know, you just never stop. You know, I mean, honestly, I'm sure Judy lost a lot of weight on that film, and her team, because, you know, you're just running in there every 5, even before they start working.
Yeah.
You know?
It's remarkable hearing you say that, Judy, about the sun. I never even thought of that, obviously, and having to worry about, like, you know, from a continuity standpoint, you can't have like actors getting burned, like their heads and getting burned from the baking sun. Obviously, that would create a huge issue. I never even thought of that. That's amazing.
Me, after America, there was a lot of our actors were like 2-3 skin tones darker, and I was like, oh no. So yeah, that ended up costing us more makeup.
Sure.
And, yeah.
Okay, for you with the wigs, you mentioned, like, how do you keep the continuity of the wigs back? Like, I just, like, again, like, they're being so used, and there's so many, you know, different, obviously, like, America's a massive scene, right? Like, there's probably, you know, 50 extras or whatever it is, 50 dancers, you know, like, how do you keep that straight, I guess?
Well, I had, you know, first of all, I didn't do it alone. I had a huge amount of hairdressers, and who were all exceptionally talented. I was really lucky with the group of hairdressers that I was working with. And to a certain degree, working with wigs is easier because, you know, the hair's not growing. So every night after they've danced, yes, you have to maintain it, but every night after they've been dancing, you have to take them off, you have to clean them, you have to redress them so they are ready for the next day. And that in itself is a lot of work. And actually, during one of the numbers, it was Dance at the Gym, because we were shooting quite long hours. And again, they had to turn off the air conditioning because the gymnasium was not air conditioned. I know Judy remembers that. That will be etched in her forehead. But I can tell you that, like, for that particular scene, I had to have a different crew come in who would then take over from the day crew during the night. I had 2 great ladies that came up from North Carolina, and we'd get all of the dancers' wigs off. We'd get them put on the blocks, and then these 2 ladies came in and worked like little elves to clean them, you know, like clean all the lace and then redress them for the next day's shooting, so that when the other team of hairdressers, the main team, they would, you know, Christine and Liliana and Jerry and everyone came in the next morning, then they had those wigs ready to go. So it was a lot. I mean, I think the nice
too. You had two people coming to.
Two, that's right. They did the whole.
Oh my God.
Because of course we were able to start it off, but then, you know, they were able to take it over. It was a lot. And hopefully, you know, it doesn't look like there was as much work as there is going into the look of the film. Do you know what I mean? As there actually was, there was a lot of work between.
Yeah, I mean, like as a viewer, I would not have, you know, it just looks effortless, I guess would be the phrase. And that's the believability of the work you guys are doing.
Word. That's the perfect way to describe it. Thank you.
I want to ask you one last thing about like we talked about Maria and Rachel Zegler. How about for Rita Moreno? Obviously, she was in the original and played Anita, so obviously much different look. To play Valentina, a new character that obviously is created for the film. I was surprised by her look because I know what Rita Moreno looks like, and she doesn't usually look like she does in this film. So I guess, can you talk about how you guys work together with her, perhaps, or just, you know, how did Valentina's, you know, look come about?
It was very much both Judy and I think Judy, I can say this. I mean, we very much worked with her because Rita had a very strong idea of what her character would look like because, you know, she's from Puerto Rico and she knew what those ladies looked like. So she had a very strong idea of where she was going with her character as well. Don't you agree, Judy?
Absolutely. I came to Kay's, where Kay was her little studio where she was doing wig fittings. I came to join them, and Rita came with her little bag, opened it up, and it was all full of all kinds of makeup. And so she's like, I like this, I like that. And most of her choices were great. And I totally worked with them. I went out and bought my own set. Snuck a little bit of my own things in there. I think for me, my biggest triumph with Rita was we went through her whole makeup, got everything done, and then she saw me reach for the eyebrow pencil, and she looked at me and says, "You are not going to try and do my eyebrows." I said, "Yes, I am. I'm going to do it. I'm going to mess it up, and then you're going to show me how I really should do it. But let me try." So I tried. I did it, and she's like, "Pretty good, except." This part. And I was like, okay, I got it. After that, we were golden.
That's amazing. Yeah, she seems like I'm sure she had a lot of strong ideas from any interview I've seen with her, and it's really great to hear. Obviously, I know you guys, you know, West Side Story, we're talking the hair and makeup, you both of you are on the Oscar shortlist for, you know, a potential nomination this year, which would be wonderful. I think the film is great. I guess getting that kind of, you know, even we're a long way to go before the Oscar nominations, and not to like put you on the spot, but I'm like, getting even that kind of recognition, I guess, you know, how does that feel knowing how much hard work you both put into this? And it sounds like obviously like much more than maybe even the average viewer would have realized. I guess, how is it like, you know, how does it feel to get that early kind of, you know, maybe endorsement or recognition, I guess?
Well, it's wonderful. You know, I mean, it's really lovely especially as it, I think it looks effortless. So it's hard to see the amount of work that went into it. But when you work that hard on something, it's nice to know that it's recognized. So of course it's and like you say, it's very early stages, but even to be where we are now, I think both Judy and I are completely thrilled that it's been recognized.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm totally proud of all the work that we did, and our teams, both the hair and makeup teams, were just so wonderful, worked so hard. And I think we achieved what we were going for. So whatever happens, we're really happy. But, you know, to get that, to be on the short list is really wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, we're still, obviously the original I've still watched a million times. And I feel like this one, even no matter what happens to the Oscars, I feel like this version is also incredible. And I look forward to watching it for the next, like, you know, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is, because I think it's like really great. And I think people will be revisiting this one again and again because of, you know, all the work in the film, and your work as well is really incredible. So Kay Georgiou and Judy Chin, the hair and makeup team of Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. It's in theaters now. Thank you both so much. It was great hearing you talk about the film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.